The time is now 6:31. I'd like to call this meeting of the Matawan-Aberdeen Regional School District to order. The New Jersey Open Public Meeting Law was enacted to ensure the right of the public to have advance notice of and to attend the meetings of the public bodies, at which any business affecting their interests is discussed or agreed upon. In accordance with the provision of this Act, Matawan-Aberdeen Regional School District Board of Education advertised this meeting on September 9th, 2020, in the Asbury Park Press and the Star Ledger. This notice was sent to the municipal clerks and the Borough of Matawan and the Township of Aberdeen and the Matawan-Aberdeen Public Library. The notice was also placed on the district's website. Can you do roll call, please, Mr. Frere?
Good evening. Start off, Ms. Rahern? Ms. Ascoli?
Here.
Mr. Brennan? Ms. Martinez?
Here.
Mr. Montone?
Here.
Ms. Osborne?
Here.
Ms. Whalen? Ms. Moore? Ms. Friedman?
Here.
Thank you.
If we could stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, first thing on the agenda is the minutes. I can do these all at once because there's a whole bunch. Okay. So I'm going to take care of this all in one motion. This is the minutes from the regular action meeting minutes on July 21st, 2020. Executive meeting minutes, July 21st, 2020. Regular action and executive meeting minutes from August 5th, 2020. Regular action meeting minutes and executive meeting minutes from August 11th, 2020. Regular action meeting minutes and executive meeting minutes from August 18th, 2020. And regular action meeting minutes and executive action meeting minutes from August 25th, 2020. Can I get a motion and a second to accept these minutes?
I'll motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And then I just want to go a little out of order and ask that our student rep, who I believe is on our Zoom call, can you wave? Yay, hi. Miss Gavar Yunin, I hope I pronounced that right. Did I get it?
Yes, thank you.
Well, I'm going to ask that you be sworn in as our student representative and say that I can't wait to one day see you in person.
Thank you.
Hi, Gavar. Welcome. On behalf of the board, welcome to as a student representative. So I'm going to read out the oath. All I need you to do is basically raise your right hand and just repeat after me. I, Gavar Yonan,
I, Jamar Union,
do solemnly swear or affirm
do solemnly swear and affirm
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
and that I will bear true faith and allegiance.
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
Sure, and that I will bear true faith and allegiance
And that I will bear true faith and allegiance
to the same and to the governments
to the same and to the government
established in the United States
established in the United States
and this state
and the state.
under the authority of the people,
I'm sorry?
under the authority of the people,
Under the authority of the people,
so help me God.
so help me God.
I, Javar Yunanan,
I, Jamar Union,
do solemnly affirm that I possess
do solemnly confirm that I possess
the qualifications for the office of student representative.
I'm sorry, can you repeat that? It keeps breaking off.
Sure, that I possess the qualifications
That I possess the qualifications
for the office of student representative
for the office of student representative
of a Board of Education,
on the Board of Education,
and that I will faithfully
and that I will faithfully
impartially, and justly
and impartially and justly
perform all the duties of that office
perform all the duties of the office
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability.
So help me God.
So help me God.
All right, congratulations.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you and welcome. And like I said before, I look forward to hopefully being able to see you in person. And is she at the next meeting or the one after?
Right.
Okay, and I look forward to your reports.
I can't wait to meet you all in person as well. Thank you.
Same here.
So, the next is executive session. Be it resolved that a closed session be convened for the purpose of discussing privacy, personnel, and legal matters. The subject matter of these discussions will be disclosed to the public when the reason for confidentiality subsides. Although the board cannot guarantee it, the length of executive session is estimated to be approximately 40 minutes, after which the public meeting of the board shall reconvene and proceed with business. Action will take place. Can I get a motion and a second to go into executive session?
I'll motion. I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
We are now in executive session. Okay, can I get a motion and a second to return to public session? Oh,
I'll motion.
so-
I'll second.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so now is time for the board president's report. I think that, you know, the lesson of the week is really community. I've said it before. I think I said it early on when we started going through this process, that it takes a community to raise a village. It's something that I, as a parent, have always had to subscribe to, because I have two very active kids who I rely on other parents to move my kids from point A to point B, because I work sometimes some crazy hours. I do this, and I've learned to rely on other people. This period of time that we're going through, it has never been more necessary that all of us as a community come together and recognize that what you do affects other people. It has been great to see that when we initially went with the transitional hybrid, there was the goal of reevaluating it in 2 weeks. That's been done. We've started the passing periods, and it's been widely received. I'm sure my children, my son anyway, is not alone in really feeling like he's back in school, having to move from classroom to classroom. I've seen some positive feedback from the community, which I think is great. And it is one step closer to that October 5th for us to move to that full hybrid. Every step we take and every preparation we do, I think early on, I recall a question from the public being, what are the steps that are going to be taken between now and October 5th to ensure that we could get everybody back in? I don't know that we actually knew what needed to be done until we started doing it. And I think that that was huge. The kids have been fabulous in terms of how they've acclimated. So I just wanted to thank the parents who stuck with us, who have had the patience to go through this with us and give us the benefit of the doubt that we would get there. I'm not saying that we're there. The amazing thing about the administration here is that they're never satisfied with where they're at and always strive to be better. So with that, I hope everybody enjoys what I told my son was his new first day. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Micah for his report.
Good evening and thank you. Before I turn it over to Dr. Rawls for a presentation, I would just like to thank the community as a whole, and I mean from parents to students to teachers to classroom aides to custodians to everyone in Matawan and Aberdeen, because this truly is a team effort, and without everybody's hard work every single day, we wouldn't be where we're at today. So for me, knowing that support is there has been tremendous. And I just wanted to thank you, thank the community as a whole, and thank you for your continued support. And now I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Rawls.
Okay. Can everyone, hopefully everyone can see. I don't know if you're...
Dr. Rawls, you're good. We can see it.
Okay, excellent.
Yep.
Again, thank you, Dr. Micah, to the Board of Education for allowing me to present a program that I think is going to be really, really beneficial for our students and staff in Matawan Aberdeen Regional School District. So the program that I am advocating for on behalf of our students and our staff is the Esports Program. And this would be, we would start this up as a club program. The E in sports stands for electronic. What we would be engaging in is a competitive, it's video games, is a simple term to use that everyone I think is familiar with. But we would be engaging in competitive online games versus other students virtually around the world. These events would be team-based, or they can also be individual-based. They focus on games that are reflexive and strategic. Reflexive meaning like fast-paced games that call for quick reflexes, and then strategic, which calls for more strategy, collaboration, efforts, and things of that nature, more tactical in a sense, which I'll get into a little bit more. In terms of required skills, believe it or not, when we're dealing with esports, we're dealing with engaging in critical thinking, situational awareness, definitely communication, problem solving, and analysis and reflection. These are probably things that when you think about video games, you don't think often about. And there's a good chance that, if you have a family member or friend who engages in video games, they may not talk about it this way. And the reason why may be because they're not part of an esports team. I mean, once we have a team, we're able to teach children and students and young people, more value adds to the games that they are playing and the skills that they are using to play those games. But we have to get out of the mindset of it just being like, vegged out, or mindless clicking and, monotony of those things, which we'll explore a little during this presentation. So in terms of if you're trying to find, what makes it or how are these gaming esports, how is it legitimate, right? If you just look at the graphic to the right, and you look at viewers, and we all know what the NFL means to the world. Esports right now, folks are tuning in to watch esports only second to folks who tune in to watch NFL Network or NFL football games rather. So even leading in MLB, which started its playoffs today. So esports is at the top of the chain in terms of United States viewership. And I would even take it even one step further. If we went, into an international, we would see that it would still rank very high in terms of viewership. You have over 250 million global viewers. Young people are out there earning money in prizes. You can see here $30 million in competitive team prizes. Major esports events broadcast on ESPN. If you watch ESPN over the summer, they had a lot of the basketball esports where folks were playing the NBA 2K21 game, and they were playing in tournaments and earning money. It was team play, collaborative in nature, and also that 2019 will become a $1 billion industry. And a lot of what we talk about in terms of prepping young people is for college and career. Esports has definitely become a game changer in terms of creating career opportunities for young people and for people in general. And one of the statistics that I read that I thought was really cool was that behind every professional esports player, there are 24 jobs, okay, that support that player. So if I was an esports professional, and I'm not saying that, we would have professionals day one in Mattawan Aberdeen, but if I was an esports professional player, I would need to hire 24 staff, and we'll get into the certain positions that those staff would cover in order to maintain, my professional standing. Continued of why, colleges are now giving out scholarship money. Scholarship money is being offered for esports players. Many schools do not have teams right now, so students are actively participating in teams outside of their school, and they are, applying for scholarships outside of the school. But I think a real big, if you look at the National Federation of High School Sports, they recently made a recommendation that esports should be a high school sport. And when you think about the last time that they did that back in 2000 was when lacrosse, and let's look back at lacrosse now. There aren't many schools that don't have lacrosse as a sport right now. So even that stamp of approval from the National Federation of High School Sports is really critical. I talked about employment, which we'll get into some of the jobs that it can lead to. Student agency, student choice, in affinity spaces. I think that that's a really important thing. This is another way to engage Mattawan Aberdeen school district students to the school. It's just another way to connect young people. And it's funny because last year when I volunteered and did the speech and debate, I've coached football all of my life at a high level. I've coached basketball at a varsity level. And when I tell you, working with speech and debate and coaching that team last year and watching them compete, watching them prepare, I've never seen anything like it. It's something that everyone needs to experience at some point. And sometimes we make assumptions about, non-athletic, clubs or non-athletic sports. But when I watch the debate team compete, it kind of puts me in the mind of watching these young people. And when we say affinity groups, I think it's really important that when we talk about social emotional learning and connectivity and things of that nature, we really need to push ourselves to do the most possible to engage more of our young people. And I think that, a gaming team could help with that, esports gaming team. In terms of workforce, when I talked about career and college readiness, I talked about the scholarship opportunities, over 200 colleges offering over $15 million in scholarships. Most young people are playing video games. That's females and males are reporting over 80%, at least 2 hours a week. They are at an 80% rate. They are reporting that they are playing video games during the week. So it's a space that students are already in. So this, having a team would allow us to kind of tap more into those students. I talked earlier about it being 15 states already in the country have, adopted the esports as an actual sport or sanctioned it. Colleges are having, colleges have esports teams. If you ever have time to watch videos, but the Army, Navy, and Air Force, they actually have esports teams. And it's a way that when we talk about social and emotional, and when we talk about self-care, these teams allow soldiers to kind of disengage, and then compete against their peers in other armed forces. And it's pretty cool to watch. If you ever get a chance, and to watch it, and I'll drop some links to videos that you can check out at a later time. Now, to get deeper into career opportunities, because you may say, okay, there's someone sitting there playing a video game, and we could say the gamer is at the center. But if you look at the surrounding scope and the surrounding supporting elements of gaming, you start to see, well, wow, there's a strategist, there's coaches, there's analysis. The students become analysis themselves. There's content creators, which I think could be awesome, especially when we already have in our business our business academy at the high school, I think that they could play a large part in the entrepreneurship. And I think even in terms of language arts and English, we can have young people who are not software developers, but journalists, where they can speak to the team and report on the team. There's streaming, which is, a big money maker right now. There's some streamers who are making $30,000 plus, but it's not all about the money. What I see here, I see opportunities to connect folks and young people in so many ways. When you talk about the organizers, these are students who are working on the back end, the IT, creating, or helping to engage the team in tournaments in terms of event organizing. So it's not just a video game person. So think of this. You may have 18 members or 20 members of the team. You may have 12 members who actively play. The other 8 members may fill these categories. So you're not only talking about video gamers themselves. You may be talking about content creators. You may be talking about those who want to reach out to community, to engage the community in possible sponsorships. Those will be in your entrepreneur. So I see this as a way of pulling in a lot of the arts in order, to move forward. And not to mention, our computer science courses and things of that nature of engaging students in actually creating games. In terms of cross-curricular opportunities, I kind of hit on some of these, but you have obviously the AV, where if we hosted events, you would have AV department, theater tech. So similar to the way we go out and we watch a presentation at our high school, at our middle school, at a very high level, you would have events in the school where it will be this intense game competition, and people coming out on a Saturday or a Sunday to view it and to watch it. You can have cheer. You come to some of the events; they're big enough where they have cheer teams for both teams, or how many there may be. Sometimes there's tri team events. I talked about journalism, but then even CTE. At the high school, we're now embarking on getting that CTE certificate. And when we look at the work that people like Brock Parr is doing in graphic design, like this can easily be transferred into that kind of class. Our engineering students getting involved, business academy getting involved. So these are all ways to engage many young people in this esports. So like I explained, it would create a unique activity or opportunity, and we would be one of the few Monmouth County school districts with an actual team. And I think that a year from now, 2 years from now, we'll look back at this and there'll be school districts that are just getting on board to things like this. I think it's a way to put us way ahead of the curve in terms of providing young people with genuine opportunities to engage and to be parts of affinity groups. And we will start it as a club, but you never know what it can grow into. Maybe it grows into a course where there's a video game design course in our STEM Academy. Maybe it grows into, for example, just last week we launched our first Husky to Husky podcast. Maybe this evolves into students leading, a podcast, students leading an esports podcast. These are the kind of things that we have to envision when we think about video games and try to block out, that one, image that you may have of someone just aimlessly or brainlessly, playing, a video game. So there is the Garden State esports team is a sanctioned league that we would become a part of if we went further, and explored this and got it board approved and got a club going. It's created by the New Jersey educators. It's a nonprofit. It's free. It's free of charge. Once we join, we'll automatically be joined up for the national team, which is free of charge as well. Some games, and this is the part where some adults, parents, guardians may say, well, what kind of games are they going to play? And the games run the gamut. You don't have to engage in realistic violence games, such as like Call of Duty or Fortnite. There are games like League of Legends, Minecraft, Rocket League. These are games that are high strategy games and high collaboration games. So these are games that don't involve violence or anything of that nature that may cause some skeptic. So it's important to know that if we enter, we have our choice of games that we are going to enter to play. Then you see the mission by the GSE is to create a game-changing students through scholastic esports by providing the learning, the leagues, and the community needed for all students to use esports as a platform to acquire critical skills to thrive in school, work, and in life. And I truly believe in, what they're doing at Garden State and what, esports brings to the table. I'm going to go on. So in terms of their model, if we did join, we got the approval from the Board of Education, we got our club up and running. The next thing that we would do is we would petition to join GSA. And then we would have access then to their social emotional learning curriculum that is based on gaming habits, which is really important because, there's some students who get really involved and engaged in gaming, and, this curriculum, think of it like as a code of conduct if it was a regular sports team. It helps them understand, how to be a good competitor, how not to become too emotional, how to take a break and step away from a game, de-escalation in terms of that. Because sometimes, as gamers, we can get really excited, and I'm personally a gamer, so I can speak to that myself. So also we will engage students in CTE, and understanding the various career paths that gaming can take us to. Workforce pathways. And then, STEM, and then there's a book club, where we would engage with a book club with the whole Garden State esports team. And students will be able to, create kind of like, I guess it's a family, because they're competing against other schools and other districts, but we would be like a Garden State family, a New Jersey family when it came to competition. So here's where we're at. If we have to break it down into 3 steps or 3 phases, this is what it would look like. What I'm doing tonight, and we put it before you, the Board of Education, if we are approved, we would then go on to identifying advisors. We'll hold interest meetings, and then establish the club and student leadership. And that's another important thing. And it's another thing that I found out when volunteering last year with the speech and debate team. I have to give credit to those seniors last year because when I tell you, they ran that club. Like, they ran speech and debate. They were able to identify what needed to be done, how it needed to be done. They were able to create the agendas for the meeting, do the mass communications. It was a student-led group, which this is another area that I think would be totally student-driven. Obviously with a club advisor, but it will become, a student-led group, and that's what we're looking for. So phase 2, we would communicate, create communication avenues. Discord is sort of, think of that like Google Meet or something in terms of that, where we would have, spaces where we can meet virtually. Identify, address hardware and IT concerns. This is when we would obviously work with our IT department and make sure that we have what we need in terms of providing the best opportunities for our young people. One of the good things is that, and one of the games that I'm really looking to start with, Minecraft. In that game, we can leverage the technology we already have in terms of Chromebooks. So that game runs magically on Chromebooks, and we would be able to compete immediately just using the devices that we already have. Now, hopefully as we move closer to a COVID status, and once the world gets back to where we all want to be, we would be able to, our computer labs would be able to house our team. That's where they would practice, and they would hold their scrimmages, and then our meets would be at different schools in terms of that. Also, part of phase 2 would be identifying gaming consoles such as Xbox that we may need to purchase, that we can possibly do through fundraising, through PTA, and hopefully building a student account where we can purchase things of that nature. But I know that right now, if we join with the fees that are non-existent to join leagues, and then, with having Chromebooks already in hand, we would at least be able to start with Minecraft right away, and possibly Rocket League, which is a soccer game, which is pretty addicting, but it's like a soccer game using automobiles. And it sounds weird, but trust me, it's a fun game. And then we would, the phase 3 we would begin league play. And Chris Alvarez, who's over in Rumson, one of the pioneers, he actually presented to New Jersey school boards during this summer. He was hosted by New Jersey school boards, and he presented, because this kind of falls a lot into the STEAM work that New Jersey school board does, a lot. This kind of fits right into that if you're trying to find some kind of context to put it in. And last but not least, just kind of like bringing it back for full circle. That picture on the right, that's my daughter. That's when she was about maybe 1.5 years old. I said that I had mentioned that I was an avid gamer. I've been playing video games probably since I was that small. Layla now is 12 years old, and she has her own YouTube channel. She has her own Twitch channel. She creates content. So that, in one last thing that I kind of want to, speaking of my own children, during the pandemic, it was very tough, obviously, for young people to get out and engage with each other. Everything was shut down. When I tell you that esports, but particularly online communities that my daughter and my son are a part of, and my daughter's 12, my son is 10, they were able to compete and still play their video games when they have free time, and then engage, just like we're going back and forth right now in this mode of medium. They were able to do that with their gaming, and they were able to stay connected to a lot of their peers that otherwise they would not have been able to connect with. So I just hope that, this presentation gives more context to what gaming would look like in a school setting, and how it can, to me, engage more young people, and eventually lead to more career pathways. So thank you for your time tonight and allowing me to present.
Does anybody have any questions? We have applause. Mrs. Scully?
Yes, thank you, Dr. Rawls, that was really helpful and thorough. I do just have a couple of questions.
Annette, can you use...
Sorry, can you hear me now? In terms of this, I guess my one question is regarding the safety and privacy, and just making sure that we set those up front just to monitor the students as they're playing the games, and making sure that that would be in place. And similar to that question is, would students have access only with the advisor, or would it be outside of that as well?
I'm sorry, Mrs. Scully, I was able to hear some of that question.
Oh, sorry.
I think part of it was practicing, students be able to practice without the advisor present.
Yeah, like would they have access to the e-gaming only with an advisor, or outside of that as well?
I mean, the advisor would help, or the coach advisor, and I'm trying to get into the habit of using coach because I want it to be seen as a sport, but the coach would be able to have practices and go through a practice similar to, you know, if you were a basketball coach or a soccer coach. And students would be able to engage in practicing certain strategies there in the setting. So let's say the setting was a computer lab. They would be able to go through those practices. But when home, you know, students will be able to practice at home as well. And it's very similar to, you know, a soccer player who wants to go and practice on a Saturday without the team or a Sunday without the team. You know, it would be similar, you know, to that. So they would be able to still engage in practicing playing a video game or developing a strategy, you know, of how to play, you know, a game with a team. And, you know, maybe they find out something about their opponent and they're like, you know, we can attack this way or we can build this. The Minecraft EDU, which, let me just tell you, it's a game changer. It's an open world experience where young people are able to create worlds. And they strategize and they create economies and they create, you know, barter systems. Like, it's real, you know, and these are skills that translate to work. They definitely translate to work skills.
Yeah.
You know, so I don't know if that answered your whole question.
Yeah, no, I just want to make sure that as you think about it more in developing it, that we think about the safety piece of it, especially if they're able to access it outside of school. And potentially even because the kids have so much screen time right now, I know they also are playing a lot of video games and all of that outside of school. Maybe there might be a way to limit how much gaming per week they're doing, just something to think about, really. I did see some of the press on Fairhaven, and it's been very positive from what I've read. It gives the kids a sense of belonging, especially those that don't participate in other clubs. It does help engage them, and there are skills I think they can take away from this. So, you know, I think there are some real positives here.
In that screen time, you know, I think what you mentioned is really important. And that's why that whole other component, you know, in terms of teaching young people the values of other pathways outside of the actual screen time, I think is really, really important. And, you know, I don't want to overlook that because it will be a lot in terms, it would be just like if you went to a regular, you know, practice for an athletic event. Where it will be broken down to, okay, we start off with, you know, an athletic event, you may start off with stretching. In this case, you may start off with, hey, let's review our last competition. And this has nothing to do with, they're not actually on a console now. They're talking, they're engaging, they're, you know, creating, how can I get better? Just reflection in it. You know, so I think that if we can get it off the ground, you know, those things, but you're right, we would definitely make sure that we pay very close attention to, you know, online and how students, making sure that they're not abusing or using abusive. But that's one of the reasons why I'm excited to make it a sport, is because it actually gives us more opportunities to teach young people how to engage responsibly with gaming. You know, it's kind of like, it gives us that opportunity, whereas now there's none. You know, so it kind of provides that an educator, you know, who is working with young people in terms of, you know, being responsible gamers.
I agree with that. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Does anybody else have any questions or comments? So I would just say when the idea, when I first saw it come through the agenda, one of the things that I really appreciated with it is the ability for those children who maybe love basketball but just are not good at it. They have that opportunity to share that passion, explore that passion that, as you said, can translate into journalism by then, you know, writing up something for the newspaper about what happened at the esport, which gets a whole different facet to I guess there is a good for video games. When I was growing up, I remember there was a field trip where one of the things was surgeons were going to be using robots in the future. So suddenly Pac-Man was a good thing. I just dated myself there, but so those are the things that appealed to me, especially going through what we're going through. If there is another shutdown, it's nice to know that there is I would much rather a child be playing Minecraft or the other name that I shall not say, in a controlled atmosphere with a plan as opposed to a competition. So those are just my thoughts that I would throw out there.
Good evening, Dr. Rawls. This is Kizzy Osborne. I have a quick question. We talked about, in your presentation here, talked about monetary. How would that be distributed with the children in the district? Do you have a plan as to how that's going to be distributed? Do you have a cap as to how much you're looking to put them in to such programs to receive monetary? How is that stipulated?
That's a good question, and I know we're not going to start off at that point. The teams, as far as I know, the teams that are competing now, it's really not about a monetary. It's similar to like we win a trophy when we go to speech and debate. There's team trophies, there are individual trophies for individual competitors. The monetary part, I remember, in the last 2 districts that I was in, I had a young person who was a professional player. He was a junior in high school, and he was a professional gamer. And he was making about $35,000 a year playing video games as a junior in high school. But he did that on his own. So, I don't see us going into it, with the idea of, okay, we're out competing for money. Those competitions would be different. And upon further research, I can give you more specifics in terms of that. But we are looking at it truly as an amateur, opportunity for our young people. But some of them may. I would venture to say this: there may be students right now, believe it or not, in our district, who are making money competing and playing video games. And I can be wrong, but there's a good chance, statistically speaking, that is the case. Especially being that some of the top, video game streamers who create content for video games are middle school age, high school age students. Those are the ones, who are doing it. But I don't foresee us setting out, trying to, send people into the professional ranks. But I think that they would see that as an opportunity, if it's something that they wanted to pursue, as an individual talent.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, anybody else? All right, thank you, Dr. Rawls.
Thank you. Thank you for your time.
Now we go to our regular agenda. Mr. Bombardier, can you take us through curriculum and instruction, please?
Sure. There's no travel tonight, and there's no changes since the committee of the whole.
Can I get a motion and a second to accept the curriculum and instruction agenda?
I'll motion, I'll second.
Are there any questions or comments from the board regarding curriculum and instruction? Seeing none. Ms. Perez, can you take us through the special services agenda?
Good evening, everyone. There's a few items in red. Under item number 4 on page 1, we're asking for board approval for the following tuition and/or extraordinary services adjustment for the 2018-19 school year. This is due to a recent audit. You will notice that it's all specific to one particular school, out-of-district school, CPC Behavioral Health Care. It includes the adjusted cost as well for that 2018-19 school year. That continues to page 2. And at the top of page 3 of special services, under item number 5, we're asking for board approval for bedside instruction for the following student. It is retroactive 9/11 to 9/15/2020, along with the cost and account number. That concludes special services.
Thank you. Can I have a motion and a second to accept the special services agenda?
I'll motion.
I'll second.
Are there any comments or questions concerning special services? I'm not seeing any. Mr. Liebman, can you take us through personnel, please?
Yes, thank you. Good evening. In the Personnel Section A, resignations and retirements, one name listed in red for resignation. Section B, leave of absence for 2021, one additional name listed in red, which is on page 2 of 10. Under Section C, appointments, number 1, new hires for 2021, 3 names listed with their respective positions and assignments. Section number 2, salary adjustments for 2021, one additional name listed for salary adjustment for the school year. Section 3, college student observers, teachers and interns for 2021, one additional name listed. This is a current staff member who will be doing his leadership intern. Under Section 4, curriculum and instruction for 2021, on the bottom of page 3 in red, names listed are for professional development, turnkey teacher trainers. This is revised and amended from the August 25th agenda. Continuing on to page 4 of 10 in red, Title I, these names are listed with their respective activities. This is for Title I support programs, which can be found on page 4, 5, 6, and the top of page 7 of 10. On page 7, item number 5, substitute recommendations for the 2021 school year. 2 additional names are listed on page 8 in red, and this falls under transportation substitutes. Item number 6, volunteers for 2021. 1 additional name is listed with location and activity. Item number 7, staff array changes. This is on the bottom of page 8 and continues on the top of page 9. Additional names listed in red with their assignments, current assignments and new assignments and respective dates. Section 8, summer curriculum writing for summer 2020. Additional names are listed for curriculum writing with their hours and costs. Under Section D, item B, perfect attendance for 1920, 1 additional name is listed in red. C, pediatric nursing program. This allows a district to have student nurse observers from Brookdale Community College come in and do additional hours here in Mattawa and Aberdeen. On page 10 of 10, item D, this is the emergency security coverage for 2021. This allows our hallway safety and security monitors additional hours as needed and determined by the principal. And then E, the extracurricular recommendations for 2021. This was the personnel attachment number 1. That concludes the personnel agenda.
Can I get a motion and a second to accept the personnel agenda?
I'll motion.
I'll second.
Are there any questions or comments concerning the personnel agenda? Okay, seeing none, I believe we have a policy as well, Mr. Liebman. Any other comment on that? Or is that unchanged?
Yep, it's a policy. I just would recommend to the board for first reading policy 8561, procurement procedures for school nutrition programs. This is a first reading. That concludes policy.
Can I get a motion and a second to accept the policy agenda?
I'll motion.
Are there any questions or comments regarding policy? Seeing none, Mr. Ferriera, can you take us through finance?
Thank you. On page, changes are on page 4 of 4. Resolution number 11, this is the district's participation in CJ Pride. And then number 15, these are additional transportation routes for this school year. And that concludes finance change.
Can I have a motion and a second to accept the finance agenda?
I'll motion.
I'll second.
Are there any questions or comments concerning finance? Okay, I don't see any. With that, can you take us through, well, actually, we have chat. Any questions from the public?
Just a comment saying that they couldn't hear us before, but hopefully the issue has been resolved. And on the public comments email, there's one email, but it does not pertain to agenda items.
Okay. So seeing that, can you take us through our action items and our votes, please?
Okay, starting off with curriculum instruction, Ms. Ascoli?
Yes.
Oh, excuse me. Mr. Ahern, are you there?
Yes.
All right, thank you. Now, Ms. Ascoli, sorry.
Yes.
Ms. Martinez?
Yes.
Mr. Montone?
Yes.
Ms. Osborne?
Yes.
Ms. Moore?
Yes.
Ms. Friedman?
Yes.
Special Services, Mr. Ahern?
I abstain on number 3, all the others yes.
Thank you. Ms. Ascoli?
Yes.
Ms. Martinez?
Yes.
Mr. Montone?
Yes.
Ms. Osborne?
Yes.
Ms. Moore?
Yes.
Ms. Friedman?
Yes.
Personnel, Mr. Ahern?
Yes.
Ms. Ascoli?
Yes.
Ms. Martinez?
Yes.
Mr. Montone?
Yes.
Ms. Osborne?
Yes.
Ms. Moore?
Yes.
Ms. Friedman?
Yes.
Policy, Mr. Ahern?
Yes.
Ms. Ascoli?
Yes.
Ms. Martinez?
Yes.
Mr. Montone?
Yes.
Ms. Osborne?
Yes.
Ms. Moore?
Yes.
Ms. Friedman?
Yes.
And finally, Finance, Mr. Ahern?
Yes.
Ms. Ascoli?
Yes.
Ms. Martinez?
Yes.
Mr. Montone?
Yes.
Ms. Osborne?
Yes.
Ms. Moore?
Yes.
Ms. Friedman?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, does the board have any unfinished business? Any new business from anybody? Mrs. Scully?
Yes. Just wanted to provide an update regarding the Matawan Aberdeen Educational Foundation, specifically that they have decided not to hold the regular grant season this fall due to the uncertainty of how the school year will go and if teachers would have time to apply for the grants. They will meet again in December and decide if they should try in January or hold off until next year.
Thank you. Does anybody else have any other new business? I just want to remind everybody, normally October we'd be going down to Atlantic City. School Boards is doing that virtually. If you have board training that's due, good time to do it. Just make sure that you get in touch with the business office to make sure they know you're going. Okay? And that is all I have for new business. Do we have now any public comments relating to additional items?
We do. This morning we received a question from Ms. Lasko, specifically related to the procedures at the high school relative to students going to the bathroom. I'll turn it over to Dr. May.
Yeah, that was addressed earlier this morning.
That is the only comment on the email, and there are no comments on the chat.
So the last board meeting, sort of impromptu, a couple of board members wanted to speak, so I just kind of like that. So does anybody have anything for the good of the order, some might say? Seeing none, I would take a motion to adjourn. Anyone want to adjourn?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Can I get a second?
We want to say,
Can I get a second?
I'll second.
wait, so there's a comment here.
Oh, is there a new comment?
We apologize for that short interruption. Obviously, we're a little further away than we were in the boardroom at Cambridge Park, so it's harder to see the comments. Basically, the comment is from a member of the public, and specifically the issue is that, considering the success with the reopening plan of the school buildings and letting students back in the building, the question is to basically provide some feedback to the board to have some interest in moving forward with actually making the facilities available for the public, specifically community events, adult leagues, and stuff like that. This is obviously something that, I could turn over to Dr. Mike in a second, but it's something that obviously we're monitoring, basically the CDC and the Department of Health guidelines with reference to these events.
And to address the indoor events, that's going to be a topic of discussion at our next board meeting. We're doing some data collection right now, and we'll have that discussion at the next board meeting and discuss ways to move forward.
With that, can I get a motion to adjourn in a second?
Motion.
Second?
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
We're now adjourned.